Hi there, let's do the astro weather for November the 2nd. So, waking up, we will still have the void moon active. It will be in its void state until 8:30. So, a lot of these aspects are happening under the void moon. So, remembering trying not to make any big decisions while we are in the void moon, even though we are going to be in quite an emotional state again, potentially in our dreamland here in Australia, because a lot of them are coming very late or very early in the morning. So 12:33 a.m. a semi-square between the moon and Jupiter. Moon still in its Gemini but void phase. And this is our emotions wanting to flow with Jupiter. So wanting to see both sides of this aspect, really wanting to look at how we expand in the material world is what Jupiter is trying to do. And the moon in Gemini, kind of bringing in an airy kind of, look at both sides of the argument that Jupiter in Taurus is trying to make, and really not wanting to go deep with it, really not wanting to do the work in that material world to expand. Then we have at 2:45 a.m. a Mercury making a quincunx aspect to Chiron. So remembering that Chiron is our wound story. And so this is going to be Mercury in Scorpio trying to help us get some deep understanding or some deep inner dialogue about the wound and in relation to trying to make a hard decision, trying to figure out which part of that we need to look at to heal. And it could be a situation that came up yesterday with all of those emotions around that is asking us to communicate. And someone may have asked us to communicate yesterday, but we were unable to do so because our wound was triggered and we had an emotional reaction. So this is again another aspect coming in with Mercury and Scorpio, asking for a compromise and putting into practice what may have come up yesterday when we were being kind of poked in that Chiron wound. So we might find ourselves dreaming about something that has happened between the ages of 3 and 23 that caused us to have emotional reactions programmed into us. So just be aware of that if we are waking up, just write it down. It might help you deal with the rest of these Chiron movements throughout this week. So 4:47 a.m. the moon also wanting compromise here with Pluto in Capricorn. So Gemini moon wanting this compromise within the fears and the shadows of us, within the mature emotional side of us, and within our darkness. Now, this could be related to how we see our long-term money situation or our work stability. And that moon in Gemini trying to get us to have a look at both sides of it and requiring a compromise that could be quite hard to see because we are in the void moon. So then we have 6:07 a.m. the moon making a quintile with that Chiron. So we had that request up there for some compromise and some communication in relation to that Mercury and Scorpio coming in with our Chiron wound. And now we have the moon coming in with a quintile and asking us to try and understand that the way that it seems from both polarities. So the way that it may have seemed while it was happening, really trying to have a look back at where the wound first started and seeing it from the perspective of that person and also the perspective of this new person that we are in the present time. And trying to express it through creativity would be really helpful under this aspect because we don't want to be making big decisions. But if we are someone who is creative, this is a really nice time to sort of work through our woundings in a creative way, writing about it, singing about it, drawing about it, something like that. 6:52 a.m. we have an aspect between the moon and Mars in Scorpio, and this is a little bit of stress. This is a little bit of stress with the forward motion movement of something and something that we need to push past. There would be obstacles that have come up, and this is potentially related to Chiron. So there is potentially some emotional reactions that we have put in place because of our Chiron wound that are really stopping us from taking action on something. And so Mars in Scorpio really wants us to move forward with intention, with intensity, and with passion, and is quite happy to look into our fears in order to take that action. So just be aware under this void moon, it is a good time to sort of get dark. You know, the moon is dark and it is a good time to be looking into that. So with Mars and Scorpio coming in here with this aspect, even though it might feel a little bit stressful, remembering we don't need to make any decisions here. We are just observing what is coming up, okay? Then at 8:30 a.m., we have the moon coming out of its void and moving into Cancer. So this is kind of the energy of being able to take a breath, The moon loves being in Cancer, that is its home sign, and these vibes can be quite mellow. They also can be quite emotional as well, and we just need to be aware that we will want comfort, we will want home, and particularly because Gemini moon makes us quite busy, it's a good time to sort of sort your home out if your home has gotten a little out of control with how busy you've been, and really looking for the comfort in those things, in those home things, like tidying up, like making sure your bed's got new blankets on it, and just doing stuff that, small little comfortable things. Moon in Cancer loves that. Just be aware of the over emotional state that this moon can cause, and it can give us a little bit of insecurity. So making sure that we are voicing those things, because Cancer, also remembering, is kind of that sign that does like to build up a hard shell around its emotions. And if you are a Cancer, you can find that this does make that a little bit more harsh, that want to build that hard shell around your emotions in order to find comfort. All right, so at 9:28 a.m., the moon in Cancer is trining Saturn in Pisces. So this is actually a really great energy for business meetings, because Cancer moon, emotional state, Saturn bringing in some solid logic. So those things are quite balanced under this aspect. If you are looking to sell ideas or talk to people in authority or have meetings with someone who could help you move forward, this energy is perfect for that. The feminine energy here is also empowered. So if you are particularly dealing with a woman in their feminine energy or somebody in their feminine energy as the authority figure, this is a really great day for being able to do that, because anything that is requiring of emotional control can be handled, because we do have that mental strength of Saturn around. Also, financial decisions can be made quite easily, and which is another great reason to be dealing with business here, because we will have that Saturn strictness that will stop us from any unnecessary purchases or any overspending. Okay, at 1 p.m., we have an aspect between the moon in Cancer and Mercury in Scorpio. And this is that Cancer moon wanting comfort and Mercury in Scorpio wanting to go a little bit deeper with a conversation. So this could be something coming up with somebody in your life that you may have been avoiding a conversation with, and this is Mercury and Scorpio really asking you to just go deep and be honest and realize that potentially some of the things that are making it uncomfortable are just your emotional reactions or the walls that you have built around an emotion that you have repressed, making it seem a little bit scarier than it needs to seem. Then at 2:42 p.m. we have the moon making a sextile aspect with Lilith. So it's kind of like the energy of that Cancer moon, that mother energy, bringing a bit of a cozy hug in relation to the work that we have been doing on our Lilith placement. Because Lilith being our dark emotional desires and reactions, and the side of us that, won't shut up if we don't deal with it, in relation, and being in Virgo, it's in relation to our critical natures and not choosing ourself. And so the Cancer moon coming in with that unconditional mother love might help us see some solutions and might help us be a little bit more unconditional with our love towards self in relation to this. And it could see us speaking up for ourselves. It could see us choosing us over others. Or it could see a situation arriving where we are being led to that path where we need to choose ourselves, okay? Being able to understand our own emotional needs in relation to a situation, okay? At 8:48 p.m., the moon semi-squares Uranus, all right? So the moon wants to stay in its comfort zone, it's in Cancer, and Uranus in Taurus wants to change things up a little bit. So Taurus is related to home as well as Cancer being related to home, but it's a different level of home, okay? So Taurus finding a lot of comfort in the material world, whereas Cancer finding a lot of comfort in its inner world. So these two things kind of coming up against each other here and looking for comfort, and it is going to require a bit of understanding and a bit of trying to see both sides, because again, Uranus is that revolutionary lightning change energy. Cancer energy is not very good at adapting. So it could be an uncomfortable situation coming up, or it could be some ideas coming up about your inner comfort and how your emotional needs for comfort are related to your material needs for comfort, and trying to find a way in between those that is not a battle. At 9:19 p.m., the moon makes a quintile aspect with the north node in Aries. So this is a really nice aspect for the moon being able to, from its place of comfort, have a look into emotional security, into our security that we can find within ourselves. Again, moon in Cancer being that unconditional mother love towards ourself and unconditional nurturing towards ourself. And so having the moon in Cancer here making this quintile aspect with the node, it's a really good energy to use our creativity to nurture and give ourselves some emotional security as a way to see forward into our most abundant goals, our most abundant timelines in relation to our future. Okay, so that's all I've got for you today, and I will see you tomorrow.